Of course, we're here looking forward to Burnley against Manchester City. City with a chance to go to the top of the Premier League table. But of course, Gary Neville, with the news we've heard this afternoon about the sacking of Liam Rosenior, I mean, are you shocked?
I'm not shocked that Liam's leaving the club. I'm shocked he's leaving today. I'm not shocked that he's leaving the club. Sorry, I thought at the end of the season that it probably would happen. I thought they may have sort of persevered to the end of the season, giving him a 6-year deal, but I don't think it's a reflection upon Liam at all. Obviously, he's lost a lot of football matches in the last few weeks, and that's disappointing. He'll be disappointed with that. But I think it's time for the owners, sporting directors, players to reflect enormously on their role in terms of what's happened in the last few weeks. And I take the coach always takes the hit. That's the role that they're in. They know they're the ones that get sacked. It's easy to move a coach out than it is 25 players, or owners are never going to sack ourselves, and I'm an owner myself, and sporting directors aren't likely to either. I mean, the owners are getting it really badly wrong there. Let's be really clear. I said at the time, and they've got a group of talented players, they've got young sporting directors in respect of sort of what will be experience relating to Europe. You've got an ownership that's relatively young in respect of ownership that sort of Chelsea Football Club, 2 or 3 years in. And I don't think you need some experience somewhere in the club. And they put a very young manager in. I think Liam should get on with his life tomorrow, pretend the last 107 days never happened, learn from it obviously as much as he possibly can, but pretend it's never. Don't think of it as a reflection upon himself. Go and get another job as quickly as you possibly can at a club that, to be fair, you can trust, and leave the mess that exists at Chelsea behind and don't think anything of it.
I mean, the owners could argue that if the bottom line is qualify for the Champions League, and if the bottom line is that financial element, if Chelsea aren't going to do that, then might as well act now.
No, the results have not been good enough. And to be fair, I've no sort of what would be other words than to say that. And when the results aren't good enough, a manager gets sacked. But come on, I mean, Cucurella and Fernandes, experienced players, the only probably 2 experienced players that Chelsea have got, stitching him up in the last few weeks by calling out the fact that they basically love Maresca. Well, they weren't doing that well under him. I think Maresca's a fine coach and a good coach as well. But this policy at Chelsea, this plan, I don't see it. These 6-year, 8-year agreements that you see, it's almost laughable from the start, whether it be for a manager or a player. The owners haven't got a clue what they're doing.
And you say that as an owner as well,
yeah, and I've made massive mistakes as an owner, but they haven't got a clue what we do. Sometimes you've got to accept that. You know, I've publicly spoken about the challenges that we've had, but they're all over the place. And look, I just don't get it really. I think you deserve what you get in football, and that's every single ownership. And it's a reflection upon them, it's not a reflection upon the coach, who, to be fair, probably shouldn't have been advanced as quickly as he was into the role. He should have been left to develop his career, a promising young coach, someone who, to be fair, is a lot thought of. And you don't turn down a Chelsea job, you don't turn down a big job like that. I can see why it was appealing, but the reality of it is, like I say, he just needs to get on with his coaching career now and sort of what would be put it behind him as quickly as he possibly can, because, like I say, it's a club that at this moment in time is a little bit crazy in its decision making.
Do you think any of the online, culture discourse around Rosenior, it'll be clipped up, and thoughts that he'll say, or lines that he says get put everywhere on social media? Does any of that play an element at all, do you think?
Yeah, but that's the world that we live in. I've just walked past the box over there, I've been abused by 4 blokes, that I'm going to get kicked out of this stadium in about 5 minutes, because I've had enough. Just basically people just abusing you all the time and basically going above and beyond. I don't mind Arteta stick with the rest of them, but it's become too easy, I think, just generally for everybody, just to sort of abuse football managers, football pundits, football coaches, football players, and think there's not going to be no recourse and consequence. And I think for Liam, he's obviously been mocked in the last few weeks, and maybe he could reflect upon his language at times, but the reality of it is, it's the football results that are the problem. It's not the words. That's obviously a little bit of an aside. It's part of the narrative with how Liam has sort of spoken in the last 6 to 8 weeks. But that's not a problem, really. I don't think. I mean, it's ridiculous that gets brought up. It's the fact that the coaching, the performances and the results have turned badly wrong and gone badly wrong in this last 4 or 5 weeks in particular.
I'm sorry for the words that you got shouted at you from over there as well, by the way. But football moves on very, very quickly. So inevitably, who next? I mean, it's so callous, isn't it? But that's the world we live in. Who next, do you think, for Chelsea at this point in time?
I don't know. Roy Keane used this word. I don't care. I don't think. I know, honestly. You know, Chelsea are a massive football club, an amazing football club. The fans will be absolutely disgusted by the way in which this has gone. I'm sure that, to be fair, everyone realised that Liam would lose his job. That's not a surprise in the sense that, you know, it was going to happen whether it be today or in 4 weeks or in 6 weeks at the end of the season. I think everybody recognised he wasn't going to be here at the start of next season. But it's just the way in which obviously it's happened. It's just not right. And like I said, I've been there myself, where I've sacked a manager after 4 months, not quite sort of 107 days, but pretty quickly. And it's a reflection upon you. It's a reflection upon me when I get it wrong. It's simple as that, you know. But I mean, just these long contracts. They give him a 6-year contract. It's just bizarre.
Well, let's end, Gary, by talking about the game you're actually here to talk about as well. City can go top of the table with a win here, and you know the momentum and all that. You were there on Sunday. I mean, it does really feel now that it's City's to take hold of, right? Yeah, this is a time for City now, really, to sort of go full throttle. No let up, no sort of relaxing the gears. Obviously, it's a big game for Manchester City tonight in terms of it's a game that they've got that obviously gets them level with Arsenal. It gets them in front of Arsenal. But it's a night where they can really send a message to potentially Arsenal's players watching at home. I used to think these were really sort of big moments in the sense that they're not playing Arsenal. City very experienced. Pep Guardiola's here tonight. In every action that you make tonight, you're sending a message that we're basically full throttle. We're not letting up. We're not letting you off the floor. We've got you on the ropes and we're keeping you there. And I think that, City will do the job tonight. I think for Arsenal, that the best they can hope for probably is a Manchester City victory that isn't by a lot of goals. But if you manage to sit tonight and you can rack up 3, 4, 5 goals, that puts a lot of pressure obviously on Arsenal from the goal difference point of view. Yeah, and of course that would relegate Burnley as well. Well, you'll hear Gary on commentary, kick-off 8 o'clock, and build up, of course, with Mark Chapman and the team from 7 on Sky Sports Main Event.
Zanny and Gary, thank you very much indeed. Carve, some very tough comments there from Gary Neville on the ownership and what's happening at Chelsea at the moment. But they would perhaps defend that and say, look, actually, we're having a time of reflection. We have got this wrong. We're going to sort this out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Gary's got some very strong views about the people who are running Chelsea. I think just in the interest of balance, they're not here to defend themselves. Sure. They don't speak in public very often, but I think if they were here, they would hold their hands up and say, look, some mistakes have been made this season. Obviously, Enzo Maresca deciding to leave midway through the season, that destabilised the club. Deciding to give the job to Liam Rosenior was a mistake. We hold our hands up. But they would also point to the fact that this squad that people keep criticising is the same squad that beat Barcelona 3-0 at home at Stamford Bridge in November. So they must have some pretty good players. And 9 of the players who played against Barcelona and beat them 3-0 played last night against Brighton. So I don't think Chelsea are in a total state of disarray. I don't think we should have a situation where it's open season to kick Chelsea when they're down. Yes, they've made a mistake. The finances don't look good at the moment. Again, if the owners were here, they would say our accounts next year will be better because we've got money from winning the Club World Cup. We got money from being in the Champions League this season as well. I'm not taking sides. I think Gary makes some good points. I'm just trying to provide a little bit of balance.
Balance, yeah?
Balance.
That's good of you.
Just trying to be fair.
No, but I think you're right. I think if the owners... Look, if you appoint a manager and after 3.5 months he goes, as an owner, as a club, you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
You've made a mistake. You didn't had it right. So in that aspect, you know... it's everybody at the club who is not doing their job at the moment. The players, the ex-manager, and the hierarchy. You know, so it's a collective. Obviously, he gets to go, but from now, they need to get it right. Something has to happen. Some mind shifts have to happen for them to go back that way, you know, because at the moment it's...
And you have to make the right appointment, not just because you need to make the right appointment.
What's the right appointment?
Well, look, Anthony Iraola is available. Oliver Glasner will be available.
No, I'm not asking who's available. I'm saying what is the right appointment.
Marco Silva.
Do the work for
Marco
them.
Silva potentially could be available.
Yeah.
Cesc Fabregas is doing a great job in Italy. Xabi Alonso is available. In the past, Chelsea have spoken to Luis Enrique. They've spoken to Hansi Flick. They've spoken to Julian Nagelsmann.
But do they need Premier League experience? We've seen managers come from abroad and it hasn't worked out for them. So should they be looking at actually that somebody who's done it before, like the
They need to get a manager who the fans will accept and look up to and adore and get behind. They also need to get a manager who the players will respect. Because some of these players will be looking at the situation and thinking, maybe I need to leave Chelsea this summer. We're not going to be playing in the Champions League. Who knows who's going to be coming in? They have to get this decision right. And if they get the decision right, before Chelsea were the crisis club, Manchester United were the crisis club. Everybody was saying they made a mistake extending Erik ten Hag's contract, then getting Ruben Amorim. Guess what? You get the right person in, Michael Carrick with Steve Holland, you start winning some football games and you stop being the crisis club. The same at Spurs. They made a mistake. Thomas Frank. They made a mistake. Igor Tudor. Now they've got Roberto De Zerbi. There's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
So I don't think it's all doom and gloom as long as they get the right person. If they get the right person in charge, then we will stop talking about the whole Chelsea soap opera and huddles and contract extensions and, everything else, respecting the ball and everything else that's been going wrong on and off the pitch at Stamford Bridge.
So will there be a situation for the owners, should Callum McFarlane come in and win the last 5 games that he's in charge for, win the FA Cup, go on and win it, beat Leeds, go on and beat Manchester City or Southampton, whoever's in that final, will they be in a situation where we're thinking, hang on a minute, do we hang on to Callum McFarlane or do they have to go for a big name, like you said, somebody that the players will respect?
They'll go for
How is that, Jim?
We have seen that before, that happening. For me, what is the most important is give that manager the keys. Let him manage. If they do that, 9 times out of 10, it will go right.
Can I make one quick point? In the I was just came to me in that statement when they say we're going to have a period of self-reflection to make sure we get the right manager. Now, is that period of self-reflection going to include looking at the structure at the club?
I hope so.
Or is it just going to be self-reflecting on we got the wrong person in before, we need to make the right choice? Or will, for instance, with the sporting directors, are they at risk?
You have to have a structure. You have to have a structure, yeah? But the structure have to be right. I don't believe in a manager coming in and he brings his own director of football in. I don't believe in that. The club has to keep that director of football.
Okay.
Yeah? Because the club is the club. That shouldn't change. I don't believe in that. But when the manager comes in, he has to be able to identify certain kind of individual players that are coming in, but they have to fit with that structure. Yeah? And I think if you do that, you go for a big name. And you go and identify that manager, even if he is with a club. Go and get him. Go and get him, give him the keys, let him manage, make all the players know you are the man. You are the man, you are the boss. And then you will see players will run. Then you will see players will do the business because they know he has the final say, not somebody else. He has the final say.
But that's the thing. Will this current hierarchy let him have the final say? We could go on and talk about this. Carl's joined us back on set. Look, you broke this story for us in the last hour, Carve. Just tell us, for those who've just joined us, what's happened today.
Well, I think, look, we need to go back a few days.
Okay.
If we go back to last Thursday, the co-owner of Chelsea, the man who really runs the club, Behdad Iqbali, very strangely, he actually spoke in public in Los Angeles at a sports business conference, and he was asked about Liam Rosenior, and he said, I think we believe in him, we back him, we're going to give him time, he's going to be our manager long term. So what has happened between last Thursday and today, Wednesday? Well, what happened is that Mr. Iqbali at home in the US would have watched the game against Manchester United on TV. They played quite well. Still, they lost that game. Then the following day, there were those late goals by Aston Villa and Liverpool, which basically meant that all hope of Chelsea making the Champions League had gone. Then Mr. Igbali flew into the UK. He was at the game against Brighton last night. I don't know, because I haven't spoken to him, but I'm presuming he would have been absolutely shocked by what he saw. Not just the fact that Chelsea lost, because you can lose games, but the way they lost, the reaction of the fans towards him, towards the other US owners, the reaction of the fans turning on Liam Rosenior for the first time. Then what happened today is everybody woke up, processed what had happened yesterday, talked about their options, and pretty quickly came to the decision that they needed to make a change. Because if they didn't make a change, things were not going to change. And that's exactly what they've decided to do. Now, some fans will be saying, what is going on here? This guy was appointed in January. 4 months later, you are sacking him even though he's got a contract until 2032. How much is that costing? Well, I haven't seen the contract, but I know there'll be a break clause in that contract. So they will not be paying up the contract in full. But they will come to a settlement that is fair for Liam Rosenior and is also fair for Chelsea. But now we move again to the situation where Callum McFarlane, somebody who's very, very inexperienced, he's been the interim head coach before, he hasn't won a game, they lost at Fulham, they drew at Manchester City. He is now being thrown into the deep end again. Massive game against Leeds, one of Chelsea's most hated rivals historically, at Wembley for a place in the FA Cup, and then scrabbling around trying to qualify for a place in the Europa Conference or the Europa League, with the owners now saying, basically in that statement, reading between the lines, what they're saying is, we've made some mistakes in the past. When it comes to appointing a new manager, it's now a time for a little bit of self-reflection and then making sure that we get the right man for the job, because they've got the wrong man on too many occasions since they bought the club.
Jimmy, whilst the owners go and self-reflect, will the fans be appeased by what they've done? Do you think bringing in Callum McFarlane for the end of the season, for the last 5 games, plus the game against Leeds at the weekend in the FA Cup, do you think that will appease the fans?
If he wins on Sunday, it will. You know, the fans, they want to see games being won. They want the team to be competing. They want to be in finals. They are in a semi-final. They want to be in finals because that's what they are used to. So if Callum does that, then they'll be happy, you know? So they want a team that competes, you know, and competes at the highest level. And at the moment, they are not used to where Chelsea is.
No.
But won't some Chelsea fans be saying, why Callum McFarlane? Surely giving the interim job to Callum McFarlane is part of the problem as well. Why are we looking again inside this structure? Why are we not?
Because who's available at the moment? You know.
Well, there's some former Chelsea players.
but obviously that is not the direction that they want to go to.
If they called Roberto Di Matteo, and if they called you and said, "Can you come in and help until the end of the season?" I can only answer
for me.
What would you say?
I can only answer for me. Look, you know I love the club, so you know my answer. You know, I will always be there to help. You know,
even though they're playing against Leeds.
Yeah, of course. You know, Leeds is also one of my clubs. But if Chelsea asks me for help, I'm going to help, whatever that capacity is.
Okay.
But that's not the issue here. No. It's stability.
Hold that thought, because we're going to get more reaction to this by somebody that you all know. The former Chelsea defender, Michael Dewberry, joins us now live. Thanks for joining us, Michael. I mean, what's your immediate reaction to this news tonight?
A little bit surprised, because I thought that Liam was a long-term thought. I thought that they'd stick with him, but it's a results-based business, and results have been poor, especially for a standard of Chelsea Football Club. It's been really poor, and 5 defeats and slipping into the clutches of mid-table made them throw the axe down.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, what does it tell you about the ownership and the situation going on there at the moment? Because we've just been discussing that, and it feels like they're taking full responsibility for this, a moment of reflection.
They have to take full responsibility. They hired Liam. I just thought that they would stick with their decision and their so-called project. Liam, young manager, to see it through. But obviously, it wasn't to be. And if Liam goes and wins 4 out of those 6 games, it looks like a great decision. But this is football, and 5 defeats make it seem like a poor decision. So they have to start thinking long term, and it wasn't the right move.
Do you have sympathy for him? Because quite frankly, all he was actually doing was stepping up when he was asked to take a promotion, really, wasn't he? He's under the same company. He was at Strasbourg. They said, take this promotion, take Chelsea. Do you have a lot of sympathy for him? Because only he was kind of doing what perhaps everyone would have done.
I have huge sympathy for Liam. I just think that yesterday really showed that actually it's not Liam. Jimmy would tell you, once you cross the line, it's down to individual, and the lack of effort, enthusiasm, and energy yesterday showed that this is a bigger problem than Liam Rosenior or whoever's in charge. It showed it's down to personnel and the players.
Michael, can Callum come in and get a tune out of these players for the last 5 games in terms of the Premier League and get them into Europe and get them into the Champions League, or is that gone?
Again, it depends on the players. Like, there's personal pride. It'd be disappointing if all of a sudden now they started showing this huge effort, and because it showed, well, they was holding back. But they need to salvage some pride, understand where they're at, the badge on the front of the shirt, rather than just running around and just taking advantage of the stature of the club they're at. They need to show something different. And I think that's the frustration of many fans watching, especially watching yesterday, that actually, where's the sense of pride that comes into playing for a huge club like Chelsea Football Club?
We're looking at the pictures there from last night, Enzo Fernandez staring back at the fans. I don't think some of the fans took too kindly to that. Do they, as you said, they've got to take some responsibility for this, but are they partially to blame as well in terms of how they behaved in the last few weeks? We saw Fofana, we've seen Cucurella come out publicly and speak about Enzo Maresca. There's been a lot going on off the pitch as well in terms of what they felt and in terms of what they said, but also the indiscipline that we've seen through the Chelsea players as well throughout this season.
I think they've got to take huge responsibility. You're a player, and it's far too easy, and part of the culture of late at Chelsea is that it seemed that when players stop trying, managers get sacked and then get another one, and we see what happens with him. That is their responsibility as a club, as players. They have to. At the fans at the end, it seemed a little bit pantomime, to be honest with you, staring there like, you got 90 minutes to show how much you care and how much effort you want to give, and it seemed it didn't. The bit at the end, it would frustrate the fans because they've just watched 90 minutes of players not trying to stand there and, the generic clap at the end, which seemed that, show the effort on the pitch. And that's what most football fans and Chelsea fans, I know for sure, they want effort from their players. They want to show that you care to play, and they didn't see that yesterday. So they've got huge responsibility.
And just in terms, Michael, finally, in terms of who they look at, I mean, I know they're not going forward at the moment. They're just going to have this moment of reflection. Callum McFarlane will take charge for the rest of the season. But there are managers out there. There's the Iriolas, there's Glasner, potentially Marco Silva, there's Xabi Alonso. Who would you like to see at the helm come the next season?
Just someone that's going to take charge, get the right people in. Just be the manager, be the head. All successful Chelsea football teams have had a manager there that was the manager, that was the boss, that got everyone to go his direction. So there's a lot of names, but again, it depends on the direction. A lot of managers will come in and ask for players and ask, unless they're going to give in the players they want, it seems that they get players in and the managers have to work with them. It might need to turn around and they get the players that the managers want. And that might be what the manager, whoever comes in, will ask for. And if they say yes, then it might work. If they say no, this is the way we operate, you manage the players that we get, then a lot of big names will turn it down.
Yeah, I hear you, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Michael makes a really interesting point, because the reason why perhaps that they did employ Liam Rosenior is because they knew he would perhaps comply with what they wanted in terms of how they want to run Chelsea. Who do they go for next? Do they go for the Iraola that perhaps wouldn't be as flexible, shall we say? Perhaps the Cesc Fabregases, who again would want to have some autonomy?
I think whoever they choose, they need to give them the keys. They need to let that person run the football club, and you support him with the players that he wants to bring in. Obviously, it has to fit in the structure, but the players have to know that he is the boss, and it has to be someone that fits with how Chelsea used to play. Energetic, working, running, just really like having that energy, you know, and playing high-intensity matches week in, week out. Somebody that does that. That's what in my mind, that's what they need. That's what Chelsea was about and is about. It has been. Maresca had it. He didn't get the time to be able to get there, you know, and I think they have to get back to that.
Okay. Whether